cheese. Okay, so that's a good friend of yours. Okay, anybody else? Natalia, who'd you meet?
Snoop Dogg.
Yo! You! Okay.
Yeah, I met him in Vegas.
Okay, what was your interaction with Snoop?
I don't know, we were walking down the street, me and my mom, and I was like, wow, there's Snoop Dogg, and I like this giant clock.
Did you say hi to him? Did you say hi? Or
Yeah, I did.
Did he interact with you?
He just said, yo.
He didn't say, hey, what's up, Natalia? Like,
No, just like, yo.
that was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
really, he's kind of busy, but it's kind of funny.
Kind of busy guy. Okay, he's a busy dude, right? He's got Dr. Dre on the side. And he's doing his thing. Who else? Tanner.
Oh, I'll just hire Chauncey Phillips.
Who?
Chauncey Phillips is a basketball player.
Who's Chauncey Phillips?
Chauncey Phillips.
Basketball player.
Oh,
Wait, was that players who?
Yeah.
okay, so what was your interaction with Chauncey Phillips?
I didn't Phillips. B.
Isn't he a basketball player?
Okay, so what was your interaction? Did he say hi to you? You guys hang
No,
out?
it was my friend just asked me who it was because he was a black guy with a lot of tattoos.
Okay, tall black dude with a lot of tattoos. Cool. Who else? Aiden.
I met Rod Smith.
Rod Smith.
Yeah,
That sounds familiar.
he's
Baseball player.
Sorry.
football player.
Football player. Oh, jeez.
My dad used to work for the Broncos, so I met a lot of those.
Okay, cool. What was your interaction with him?
DJ Coleman.
That's pretty cool.
I was 8, he was 5.
Okay. Tickled in that one. Yeah, that's, put that on the back burner. Okay. So it's kind of bringing you guys back, okay? Okay, one more. We'll do one more. Xavier. You met Tim Joe? He's not that famous still. 99% of the world doesn't know him. But that's cool, yeah.
He's pretty famous in the world of Young Life.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
Pretty cool guy.
Young Life is pretty cool, yeah. Tim Joe, he's got his cybersecurity.
Yes.
When I was in Iraq, I was one time, I've never gone back there, but we were invited, my colleague was working in the rule of law, and we were invited to the British Embassy. And there was like a European Union conference, and here we had all these different ambassadors from different countries, and the one I was sitting next to, we were kind of in a room very similar to this. We were sitting in a circle, and we all had food, and they had their champagne and toasting and all that. I couldn't drink because I was in my military uniform, but this guy that I was sitting next to, he was a Finnish ambassador from the area of Finland. Come on in, guys. Come on in. How's it going? Here, come on, sit. Yeah, Natasha and Petrie, welcome. Anyway, this ambassador, okay? All these other ambassadors in the room at the time, they were interacting with each other. They were dealing some serious business, whether or not they want to establish an embassy here in Iraq, and they were talking about like foreign relations issues, just big deal stuff. And here I was, just a captain in the military of America, and I didn't know what to say to these guys. I was just like, hey, so Baghdad, huh? Pretty cool vacation place. Welcome to Baghdad. I didn't have anything to say to these guys. But not only that, these guys were dealing with high-level people. They were dealing with ambassadors, and if they wanted to get something done, they knew exactly who to go to. They go to the top. Okay? And any kind of organization or any leader, when they want to get something done, they work from the top down. They try to find out who the top leader is, and then they try to negotiate with them, they try to hang out with them, earn their trust, and then they try to do business and try to get their intent in and try to get that work done that way. Now, what about Jesus Christ? What about Jesus Christ? The King of Kings, the guy who, even Principal of Mr. Booth, he's going to answer to him. President Obama is going to one day have to answer to him. The UN Council, the top leaders of this world, they are all going to have to answer before God, before Jesus Christ. And so this top leader, this is the highest leader that you and I know of, who does he go to? And why did he come here on earth? And for whom exactly did he come? And in other words, who did he come for? And so we're going to take a look at that today. And human logic just simply dictates that if he is the highest leader out there, that if he is God, that he's going to go to the political figures, that he's going to go to the presidents, the Caesars, the ambassadors, and talk to these guys to get the work done. Because the world at that time was dealing with some severe issues, weren't they? But the biggest problem, the biggest issue that Jesus came to tackle was salvation. Salvation of you and me, and of the people that were living at that time, and before, and now. That was why he came. And so how did he deal with it? Who did he choose exactly to solve this kind of problem? So if you guys have your Bibles, turn with me today, book of Matthew chapter 9. And we know, when I ask you guys that question, who did he come for exactly? You and I know the very simple church answer, don't we? So, well, he came for you and me. He came for the losers, the scum of the earth, the robbers, the prostitutes. These are the sinners that he came for. But how radical is this? How crazy is that for the top of the greatest leader that we know of came, and he is trying to do his work through the people on the very bottom. It is unheard of. And logically, it doesn't make sense to you and me. But God is way beyond their logic. And this is how he's going to do it. And to set the background real quick, if you guys remember when Jesus finished the Sermon on the Mount, he came down from the mountain and a leper came to him, right? We saw a triad of miracles. The first one, a leper came. It says, Jesus, I believe you can heal my leprosy. And Jesus said, it is done. You are healed. He was healed. Then we saw a Roman officer, an infantry officer, a manly man. He said, hey, I have a servant, and I am not even worthy to talk to you, but I believe who you are, so please heal him. And Jesus said, wow, I have never seen a faith like this. He is healed. And then we saw Peter's mother-in-law be healed. Right? She had a fever, she was laying around, and Jesus came and he healed her. And then followed by the triad of miracles, what we saw was a bunch of people came to Christ. And they said this. They said, Lord, I want to follow you. I believe you're God. And I want to do exactly what you're doing and follow you. But what was their answer? Jesus said, follow me then. And they said, well, let me go bury my father first. Let me just go say bye to my family. I want to follow you, but I want to follow you according to my time and my will. And Jesus said, if you want to follow me, I have to be your first priority. Drop what you're doing and follow me. And so we saw 3 miracles followed by these people that couldn't follow him. That they rejected that command. They said, follow me. They couldn't do it. Followed by 3 more miracles. Right? And this is where we left off last week, didn't we? We saw Jesus calming the storm. Then he drove out the demoniacs. Drove out the demons into the swine. They flew off the cliff. And they died. And then last week, we saw the paralytic being healed. And followed by what we're going to see is a very similar thing. Jesus is going to say again to this guy, follow me. But the response is going to be a little different today. He's going to drop on his knee and follow him. So let's look at Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. Matthew 9, verse 9 through 11 says this. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting in the tax collector's booth. And he said to him, follow me. And he got up and followed him. Then it happened that as Jesus was reclining at the table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were dining with Jesus and his disciples. Okay, I'm going to stop us right there for now. Just a quick observation here. This Matthew that we see is the same Matthew who wrote the book of Matthew. So he decided for himself, okay, well, since my story was so powerful, I'm going to include it on here. And it was included right after the 3 miracles. His Hebrew name was Levi. Okay? Some of you guys on your Bibles will have Matthew, and in parentheses will have Levi. Okay? Matthew is his second name. It's his Aramaic name. It means the gift of God. It's very common in those times to have 2 or more names, because what we think when we think back to those times, like, oh, well, those guys were stupid, But really, most of them knew 3 languages. These people in the Bible, they knew the spoken language, which was Aramaic. They knew Hebrew, the written language, if you were a pious, good Jew. Furthermore, they knew Greek, Koine Greek, the common Greek, because that's what all the traders used, right? As they were doing all their trades and doing their business, that's what they spoke and used. And so, who was Matthew? Matthew was a tax collector. And you and I think, wow, that's not that bad. That's kind of a cool job. What do you guys think of when you say taxes? When I say tax collecting? Huh? Yeah, it's like, I don't want to pay taxes. But IRS, who knows what the IRS is? Yeah, what does it stand for, you know?
International Revenue Service.
Close.
Internal Revenue.
Yeah, there you go. Internal Revenue Services. This is the agency of our U.S. government that deals with taxes. And it is completely different in those days, okay? Tax collectors in those days were considered the scum of the scum. Why? Because they were working for the Roman government, and so they were taking advantage of their people. They were collecting taxes from their people, and they were giving it to the Roman government for them to build the army, to conquer different places. And so Jews hated paying taxes. Furthermore, they hated tax collectors. And Matthew, or Levi, was a tax collector at the time. And they were the same class as pigs. Okay? And remember, the Jewish, they didn't like pigs. They weren't going to do anything with bacon because it was unkosher. It was completely out of their religion. And so the tax collectors couldn't even testify in court. Okay? And he's sitting in a booth. What he's doing is this. According to Mark's account, he's in a town called Capernaum. And in this town, a lot of the roads intersect. And so he's sitting in a booth, waiting for imports and exports as people bring him by. He's putting tax on them, and he's collecting taxes. And the way tax collectors made their money was this. They call it deep pocketing. So let's say I lend Donovan $10, right? And I'm putting interest on it. So when I collect back that $10, I'll say, hey, you owe me $15 now. It took you 4 days, so you're going to owe me $15. And so the way they did it, they said, okay, here's your tax X amount plus $5, or how much ever that he wanted to impose for himself. And he was going to collect that, and he kept that and pocketed that extra cash. That's how they made their money. So not only were they just working in expense of the people, but they were also stealing from the people. So everybody hated tax collectors. It wasn't like the IRS, although none of us like to pay taxes here either. Nothing too much has changed in that term, right? And so Jesus, who did he come for? He came for the low of the lows, for the scumbags, for the tax collectors, for the prostitutes. These are the ones who came for it. And Jesus here gives the same command. What's it say in verse